You've just stepped into the Motivation Library, a place where struggles turn into stories of strength and dreams transform into destinies. Every book is a path, every chapter a step forward. Today, we walk a new path. Let's begin. Preface: Rising from the Shadows. The first time I felt the weight of my own mind, it was suffocating. Invisible waves crashed over me, relentless and unyielding, pulling me beneath a current I could not see. Thoughts twisted like storm clouds, doubt howled like wind through a hollow cavern, and fear settled deep in my chest, a silent, constant companion. I was drowning, and yet, in that darkness, something stirred. A faint glimmer of awareness whispered, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." This book is the story of that beginning. It is a journey from the suffocating grip of negative thoughts into the expansive clarity of intentional living. It is a map for those who have been trapped in the echo chambers of their own mind, weighed down by fear, doubt, and shame. It is a guide for anyone who has ever felt lost in the storm and longed to find solid ground. The journey within. You will walk through invisible waves, feeling the raw terror of uncertainty. You will stare into mirrors that reflect your deepest insecurities. You will endure nights where your mind shatters, leaving fragments of doubt scattered across your soul. And then, slowly, you will awaken. You will feel the first light between your thoughts, the quiet that comes after chaos, and the profound stillness that allows you to see yourself clearly. You will learn the alchemy of the mind, how to transform fear into fuel, doubt into insight, and pain into power. You will discover the mirror that forgives itself, releasing the chains of shame and embracing the full spectrum of your humanity. You will endure fire, feel it refine you, and emerge stronger, tempered like gold forged in the heat of life itself. From chaos to mastery. This book does not promise that life will be easy. It promises something far greater: mastery. The kind of mastery that comes not from avoiding struggle, but from walking through it consciously. The kind of mastery that turns momentum into a symphony, every habit and action building toward a life of intention and purpose. You will learn to live above reaction, to chart your horizon, and to move with the rhythm of clarity and courage. You will feel what it means to reclaim your mind, harness your energy, and become the architect of your own life. By the end, you will meet the reborn self, a version of you forged in the crucible of experience, refined through awareness, and awakened to the power of intentional living. Why this book exists. Rise Above, The End of Negative Thinking, exists because too many of us live as prisoners of our own minds. We surrender to fear, doubt, and the quiet tyranny of negative thought. We forget that within us lies the power to rise, to transform, to heal, and to create a life not dictated by circumstance, but by choice. This book is a bridge from the shadows to the light. It is your companion in moments of struggle. It is the mirror that will reflect your strength when you feel weak. It is the fire that will forge you when life challenges you most. An invitation. I invite you to read these pages slowly, to linger in the reflection exercises, to feel the weight of the words, to allow the narrative to touch your soul. You may cry, you may resist, you may feel challenged. That is the point. Transformation is never comfortable. By stepping into this journey, you are choosing to rise. You are choosing to transform fear into fuel, doubt into clarity, and pain into power. You are choosing to meet the self you were always capable of becoming, resilient, intentional, and fully alive. This is not just a book. It is a journey, and it begins the moment you take the first step. Step forward. Rise above. The horizon awaits. Chapter 1. Drowning in Invisible Waves. The room was quiet, yet inside your head, a storm was raging. Not a storm of thunder or lightning, but of thoughts. You could almost hear them crashing against the walls of your mind, wave after wave of doubt, fear, guilt, and what-ifs. You sat there, eyes open but vision blurred, staring at the floor that seemed to sink beneath you. You weren't drowning in water. You were drowning in your own thoughts, invisible, relentless, and suffocating. Each thought pulled you deeper. You're not enough. You always mess it up. No one really cares. They arrived like dark whispers at midnight. each one convincing enough to sound like truth. You tried to quiet them, but silence only made their echoes louder. You scrolled through your phone, trying to escape. You opened the window to feel the air. You told yourself to breathe, but the storm wasn't outside. It was inside. And how do you escape something that lives in your own head? That's the secret no one tells you about negative thinking. You don't see it coming. It doesn't break the door. It whispers its way in. The emotional depth, when thoughts turn to waves. Overthinking is like standing in the ocean on a calm day, watching the tide. It begins gently, one small wave at a time. You tell yourself you're fine, but then the waves keep coming. Each one a small worry, a passing thought, a memory you wish you could erase. And before you know it, the water has risen above your chest, your neck, your mouth, until you're gasping for air you can't find. Negativity doesn't scream, it accumulates. It hides behind "I'm fine," behind the smiles you wear for the world, behind the plans you make to distract yourself from what you feel. You begin to live in two realities, the one everyone sees, and the one that quietly breaks inside you. In that silent place, doubt becomes your language. You wake up tired even when you've slept. You feel heavy without lifting anything. You look in the mirror and see not your reflection, but your mistakes staring back. The most painful part? No one can see you drowning, because the waves are invisible. The inner dialogue, becoming your own storm. Every human being carries an inner narrator, a voice that comments, criticizes, compares, and controls. For most of us, it was shaped in childhood, molded by fear, failure, or someone else's words. We inherit beliefs that were never truly ours. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve love. Success isn't for people like me. Over time, that voice becomes familiar. And because it's familiar, it feels true. You don't question it. You obey it. You build your life trying to prove it wrong or make it shut up, both exhausting battles. The mind loves patterns. And if negativity becomes your pattern, it will feed you thoughts that match your fears, not your reality. But here's the truth you rarely hear. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which your thoughts appear. You are not the storm. You are the sky holding it. When you finally see this, truly see it, something shifts. The waves don't disappear immediately. But now, instead of drowning, you start to float. Mindset insight, the science and soul of thought. Every thought you have creates a chemical reaction in the brain. A negative thought triggers cortisol, adrenaline, and survival instincts, preparing you for a danger that doesn't exist. The body doesn't know the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. That's why thinking, "I'll fail again," makes your heart race as if you already have. It's why replaying arguments feels like bleeding from invisible wounds. The cycle of negativity is biological, but it's also trainable. You can rewire your mind the same way it was wired to fear. When you observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them, you interrupt the cycle. Observation is the pause that turns chaos into clarity. It's the moment the storm realizes the sky has been watching all along. Here's a truth most people miss. Your mind believes what you repeat. Feed it fear, and it will find proof of it everywhere. Feed it hope, and it will begin searching for light in the dark. The difference between drowning and rising isn't the absence of waves, it's learning how to surf them. The shift from drowning to rising. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you realize the waves haven't stopped, but you're breathing again. The same thoughts come, but they don't pull you under anymore. It's not because life became easy. It's because you changed your relationship with your mind. You start to see thoughts as weather, temporary, unpredictable, but passing. And you are the sky, steady, vast, and untouchable. Negativity loses its power when you stop feeding it attention. Because attention is energy, and whatever you feed grows. Starve the thought. Feed the truth. You are not broken. You are simply learning how to swim in your own mind. And one day, without realizing it, you'll stand on the same shore that once drowned you and smile at the waves that tried to keep you down. You'll whisper to yourself, "I made it through." Not because the storm ended, but because you discovered the ocean was never against you. It was trying to teach you how to rise. Key takeaways. 1. Negative thinking doesn't appear suddenly. It grows silently through repetition and self-belief. 2. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness observing them. 3. The mind's negative voice is often an echo from the past, not a truth of the present. 4. Changing your relationship with your thoughts changes your reality. 5. Peace begins when you stop reacting and start observing. Reflection exercise, the thought ocean. Tonight or tomorrow morning, try this simple but powerful practice. 1. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and imagine you're standing at the edge of an ocean. 2. Each wave that comes toward you is a thought. Watch it arrive, then fade away. 3. Name the thoughts without judgment. Fear, comparison, doubt. 4. Don't fight them, simply observe. Watch how, when you stop resisting, the waves lose their power. 5. When you open your eyes, take a deep breath and say softly, I am not the storm. I am the sky. Do this daily for a week. You'll begin to see that thoughts are just weather, and you were never meant to drown in them. Chapter 2. Echoes in the Glass Room. There's a room you walk into every day without realizing it. It's silent, bright, and polished, its walls made of mirrors. Everywhere you turn, your reflection follows, but it's not always kind. You catch your own eyes in the glass and hear a whisper that sounds like you, but isn't truly you. You could have done better. You should be further by now. Why can't you ever get it right? You don't remember inviting this voice in. It just grew louder with time, until its echoes filled the entire room of your mind. The glass room isn't made of reality. It's made of self-talk. Every thought you repeat about yourself builds another wall, another mirror. Soon, you're surrounded by reflections that only show your fears, failures, and flaws. And you start mistaking those reflections for who you really are. The mirror that speaks back. It begins subtly, a moment of doubt, a small mistake, a forgotten promise. You criticize yourself to stay accountable. You think being harsh will make you stronger. But every self-inflicted wound adds another crack to your confidence. The mind is a powerful architect. Whatever you repeat, it builds. When you tell yourself, I'm not enough, your mind doesn't argue. It starts looking for proof. It remembers every failure, every rejection, every time someone walked away. Not because the past defines you, but because the brain seeks patterns that confirm belief. You could have 10 moments of success and 1 moment of doubt, and still, your mind would echo the doubt louder than the triumphs. This is how most people live, trapped inside a room of their own words, mistaking judgment for truth, punishment for motivation. The most dangerous cage in the world is the one built with your own voice. The psychology of the inner critic. Neuroscience calls it negative bias, the brain's tendency to remember pain more vividly than joy. It's a survival mechanism. Once, it protected us from danger. Now, it traps us in mental replay loops, running the same thought over and over as if worrying could change the outcome. The voice in your head that says, you're not enough, isn't evil, it's scared. It's the part of you that learned love was conditional. It's the echo of every criticism, every rejection, every silence that felt like disapproval. That voice believes if it points out your flaws first, others won't have to. It thinks it's protecting you. But in doing so, it keeps you from growing, loving, and daring again. You don't silence that voice by hating it. You quiet it by understanding it. The critic loses power when met with compassion instead of conflict. The turning point, a different reflection. Imagine walking into the glass room again. But this time, you don't flinch. You look at your reflection, the tired eyes, the hesitant smile, the weight of invisible expectations, and you say softly, I see you trying. I see you carrying so much and still standing. The mirror doesn't shatter. It softens. That's the secret. The reflection you see changes when the way you speak to yourself changes. The room doesn't have to be destroyed. It has to be rewritten. You were never meant to live in a house of harsh words. You were meant to live in a space built from understanding. The philosophy of inner dialogue. Every word you speak to yourself is either construction or destruction. There is no neutral ground. The words, I can't, build walls. The words, I'm learning, build doors. Most people think transformation begins with doing, but it begins with speaking, because every action starts as a conversation inside your head. If that conversation is filled with cruelty, no achievement will feel enough. If it's filled with compassion, even failure becomes a teacher. You don't have to become your cheerleader overnight. That's not authenticity, that's denial. But you can start by being fair. You can start by being on your own side. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love who's hurting. Because you are that person, you've just forgotten how to listen. Reclaiming the glass room. The truth is, you can't leave the glass room, because it's part of being human. You'll always have thoughts, self-talk, inner commentary. But you can decide what kind of echoes fill it. When you begin to change your words, you don't destroy your reflection, you heal it. You begin to see not what's missing, but what's emerging. You stop asking, why am I like this? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That's the shift from victim to student, from shame to awareness. The room that once echoed with criticism becomes an altar of growth. The same mirrors that used to magnify your flaws now reflect your courage. And that's when you realize, you were never trapped inside the room. You were trapped inside the story you kept telling yourself. Change the story, and the walls disappear. Key takeaways. 1. Your self-talk creates your reality. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you experience the world. 2. The inner critic isn't an enemy. It's a wounded protector. Understanding it softens its control. 3. You are not your thoughts, but you are responsible for how you speak to yourself. 4. Compassion rewires judgment. Harshness doesn't build strength. Kindness does. 5. Transformation begins with language. Change your words, and your life begins to follow. Reflection exercise. Rewriting the mirror. Find a quiet moment today and stand in front of a mirror. Look at your reflection for 1 full minute. No distractions, no filters. When the self-critical thoughts appear, don't fight them. Just listen. Then, out loud, respond with the opposite energy. If your mind says, you're not doing enough, say, I'm learning at my own pace. If it says, you always fail, say, I'm still standing, and that counts. At first, it will feel unnatural, forced, even uncomfortable. That's because you're speaking a language you haven't practiced in years, the language of kindness. Do this for 7 days. You'll begin to notice the reflection changing, not in appearance, but in energy. You'll realize that the mirror doesn't reflect who you are. It reflects how you speak to yourself. Chapter 3. The Night the Mind Shattered. There comes a night that doesn't begin and doesn't end. It just happens. A night when the noise inside your mind grows so loud that even silence feels violent. The world outside continues. Cars passing, clocks ticking, life moving. But inside, something breaks. You sit there, maybe on the edge of your bed, maybe on a bathroom floor, and it hits you. You've spent so long trying to hold everything together that you don't even remember what it feels like to simply be. You're exhausted, not from life itself, but from the weight of pretending you're fine. Tears come, not because of one event, but because of everything. Every word you swallowed, every failure you didn't forgive, every voice in your head that told you to be stronger while you were quietly falling apart. And in that breaking, in that sacred collapse, something inside you whispers, enough. The moment of fracture. We're taught to fear breaking, to see it as weakness, as proof that we've lost control. But what if it's not the end? What if it's the beginning of truth finally coming to the surface? When a mind shatters, it doesn't explode outward, it caves inward. The fragments aren't made of glass. They're made of illusions, the illusions we've clung to. That we must always be strong. That asking for help is failure. That pain means we're broken. But the truth is quieter than that. The truth whispers, this pain is not your enemy. It's your unveiling. That night, the mask slips. You see your raw, unedited self. Not the one that smiles for the world, but the one that trembles behind the curtain. You finally meet the person you've been avoiding, you. When darkness becomes a teacher, every collapse hides a lesson the calm could never teach. Because peace doesn't reveal your strength, pain does. In the darkest nights, you learn what your mind is made of. You see how it fights, how it clings, how it tries to protect you even as it hurts you. You learn that breaking is not destruction, it's revelation. It strips away the roles, expectations, and lies you've told yourself. The night the mind shatters, you discover what is real. You see that all the self-hatred, all the guilt, all the fear, none of it was the truth of who you are. They were just walls built by an exhausted soul trying to survive. And when those walls fall, you don't lose yourself. You finally see yourself. The science of collapse. When the mind is overwhelmed, it doesn't malfunction, it resets. Cognitive overload, emotional burnout, mental fatigue. These aren't failures of willpower. They're the brain's way of saying, you've carried too much for too long. The breakdown is the nervous system's way of forcing you to stop, to feel, to release, to let go of the weight you refuse to put down. The tears are not weakness, they're the body's detox. The silence after the storm isn't emptiness, it's healing. Neuroscience shows that when the brain hits emotional overload, the prefrontal cortex, the part that reasons and plans, goes offline. It's why you can't think positive in your lowest moments. The body takes over to purge what the mind can't carry. That's not failure. That's biology giving you permission to rest. The flicker of awakening. Then, somewhere in that dark stillness, something remarkable happens. Not a miracle, just a moment. A small, almost imperceptible flicker. It might be a breath. It might be a memory of something beautiful. It might be the first honest thought you've had in months. I don't want to live like this anymore. And that thought, fragile, trembling, almost afraid of its own existence, is the beginning of rebirth. That's how transformation begins, not with fireworks or sudden confidence, but with the quiet decision to no longer be your own enemy. It begins when you say, I want to understand this pain instead of running from it. Pain transforms the moment you give it meaning. When you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this showing me? The darkness becomes a teacher instead of a threat. The metaphor of the broken cup. In Japanese philosophy, there's an art called kintsugi, the practice of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they highlight them, turning the brokenness into beauty. The cup, once shattered, becomes more valuable than before. The same is true of the mind. When it breaks, you have two choices. Pretend it never happened, or rebuild with gold, truth, compassion, awareness. Every crack you've earned becomes a map of resilience. Every scar becomes proof that you didn't just survive, you evolved. So the next time your mind feels like it's falling apart, remember, the breaking isn't the end of the story. It's the space where the light finds a way in. Learning to let go. We live in a world obsessed with control, control of emotions, control of outcomes, control of image. But sometimes, the only path forward is surrender. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that there's wisdom in what you can't fix yet. When your mind shatters, it's not asking you to rebuild the same structure. It's inviting you to build differently, slower, softer, wiser. The goal is not to silence your pain, but to listen until it tells you what it needs you to know. The dawn after the collapse. At some point, maybe days, maybe weeks later, you wake up and realize something has changed. The air feels lighter. The thoughts still come, but they don't bite as hard. You laugh, maybe for the first time in a while. It's not because everything is fixed. It's because you've stopped needing it to be. This is the quiet dawn after the night of the mind shattering. It doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives. And when it does, you'll look back and understand. The breaking didn't destroy you. It revealed who you were meant to become. Key takeaways. 1. A breakdown is not a failure. It's the body and mind's way of releasing what you can no longer carry. 2. Pain is not punishment. It's information. It reveals where you've been living against your truth. 3. Transformation begins with surrender, not strength. You heal when you stop pretending you don't need to. 4. The cracks are not flaws. They are evidence that light can reach you. 5. Awakening starts with one honest thought. I don't want to live like this anymore. Reflection exercise, the night journal. Tonight, sit somewhere quiet with a notebook. Don't write to be wise. Write to be real. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What am I pretending doesn't hurt anymore? 2. What truth have I been avoiding because I'm afraid of what it will change? 3. What would happen if I stopped fighting this pain and started listening to it? Write without judgment, without editing. Let the words spill out like rain on glass. When you finish, close the notebook and whisper to yourself, the breaking was not my end. It was my beginning. Chapter 4. The Dawn Between Thoughts. There is a moment, fragile, almost invisible, when night begins to loosen its grip and the first light touches the horizon. It doesn't roar or demand attention. It just appears. That's what awakening feels like. After the storm of the mind, after the nights of collapse and exhaustion, something inside you softens. The chaos is still there, but it no longer owns you. You begin to notice a space between the noise, a silence that feels new, unfamiliar, almost sacred. This is the dawn between thoughts, the moment when you begin to realize you are not the voice in your head, the space you never knew existed. You wake up one morning and realize your thoughts are still whispering, doubts, fears, endless narratives. But for the first time, you don't immediately believe them. You watch them. You listen. You see them come and go, like waves brushing against the shore. And then, between two thoughts, there's silence. Not emptiness, not nothingness, presence. That's the space you've been missing all along. It's where your peace lives. It's where the real you hides, not the anxious, overthinking version of you, but the one who has always been still beneath the noise. For years, you've lived inside the storm, convinced that every thought was true, every fear was prophecy, every self-judgment was reality. But in this dawn, you start to see, the storm was never you. It was just passing weather. The watcher within. There is something extraordinary that happens when you become aware of your thoughts instead of being consumed by them. You start noticing the watcher, that silent observer behind every experience. The watcher doesn't judge. It doesn't panic. It doesn't need control. It simply sees. When you start identifying with the watcher instead of the thinker, life changes. The pain doesn't vanish, but it loses its authority. The mind still speaks, but you don't obey every word. You begin to understand that thoughts are not facts. They are stories, and most of them were written by fear. When you watch your thoughts, you reclaim your freedom. When you believe them blindly, you hand over your peace. The voice that lied. The mind is a storyteller, an ancient survival mechanism designed to protect, not to enlighten. It was never built for happiness, it was built for safety. That's why it scans for danger, replays mistakes, imagines worst-case scenarios. It's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you from pain. But what it doesn't understand is that by trying to protect you, it also keeps you small. The voice in your head isn't evil. It's scared. It's the child inside you who learned that failure meant shame, that love had to be earned, that worth had to be proven. So it keeps whispering, "Be careful. Don't try. You'll get hurt again." And for years, you've mistaken that fear for wisdom. But today, in this dawn between thoughts, you begin to see clearly. That voice isn't your truth. It's your trauma trying to protect itself. Awareness, the quiet revolution. You don't fight the mind by arguing with it. You free yourself by observing it. The more you observe, the more distance appears between you and the chaos. You start to see that every thought has a beginning, a middle, and an end. They rise, they fade, and another takes its place. When you stop clinging to them, they lose their grip. This is the essence of awareness, seeing without reacting. It's not detachment, it's freedom. It's standing in the center of the storm and realizing you are the sky, not the thunder. When awareness awakens, life slows down. You start noticing beauty again, the texture of morning light, the sound of your own breath, the way the world moves without your permission. And in that noticing, healing begins. The paradox of stillness. At first, stillness feels unbearable. We've been trained to fill every silence with distraction, to scroll, to talk, to escape. Silence confronts us with everything we've avoided. But when you stay, when you breathe through the discomfort and simply witness it, something shifts. The silence that once felt suffocating becomes sacred. It holds wisdom you couldn't hear before. The stillness doesn't fix you. It reveals that you were never broken. You begin to sense that peace isn't something you have to find. It's something that was always within you, buried under the noise. The mind as a mirror. Imagine your mind as a lake. When the surface is agitated with waves of fear, judgment, and comparison, you can't see what lies beneath. But when it calms, even for a moment, the reflection becomes clear. In that reflection, you don't see your flaws. You see your essence. That essence has always been there, untouched by pain, untouched by failure. The mind distorts it, but the soul remembers it. Awareness doesn't erase your darkness. It lets you see it without drowning in it. It gives you the courage to hold your shadows and say, "Even this is me." From thought to truth. As awareness deepens, you start catching the lies faster. "I'll never be enough." You pause and ask, "Who says that?" "Everyone's ahead of me." You realize time isn't a race. "I always fail." You see that you've survived every failure you've ever had. Each time you question a thought, the spell weakens. You don't need to silence the mind. You just need to stop believing its every word. The dawn between thoughts teaches you that you are the listener, not the voice. The space, not the storm. The awareness, not the illusion. And that realization, that simple, quiet knowing, is the beginning of freedom. Key takeaways. 1. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. 2. Every thought is temporary. It rises and falls like a wave. Peace lives in the space between. 3. The mind is a storyteller, not a truth teller. Learn to question its stories with compassion. 4. Stillness is not emptiness. It's where the real you lives. 5. Awareness is the first step to freedom. The moment you notice your thoughts, they lose their control over you. Reflection exercise, the observer's practice. Find a quiet moment, early morning or before sleep. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Now watch your thoughts as if you're sitting in a theater, observing them play on a screen. Don't chase them. Don't judge them. Just watch. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Who is the one noticing these thoughts? That second question is the doorway. That's where the watcher lives. That's where you begin to meet your true self, the one untouched by fear, unshaken by the noise. When you open your eyes, whisper softly to yourself, I am the sky. My thoughts are just passing clouds. Chapter 5. The Mirror of Stillness. There is a quiet place inside you that has always existed, though most of the world has convinced you it's unreachable. A place untouched by the chaos of endless thoughts, the weight of judgment, and the pull of fear. It is here, in the mirror of stillness, that true transformation begins. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is not boredom or emptiness. Stillness is presence, the rare, luminous pause where your mind finally stops narrating and begins listening. You discover it in a breath, in the space between heartbeat and heartbeat. You discover it in the hush that follows the storm, the silence that follows the shattering of old stories. It is in this space that you meet yourself, not the version you've curated for the world, not the one that beats itself up for failure, but the real you, calm, steady, whole. The awakening of mindfulness. Before this moment, every reaction in your life was instinctive. You were at the mercy of fear, habit, and doubt. A single negative thought could set off a chain of worry, shame, or self-criticism that lasted hours, sometimes days. Mindfulness is the mirror that reflects this pattern. It shows you what you are doing without judgment. It is the lens through which you can observe your mind as it really is, rather than the story it tells you it is. For example, you notice your chest tightening when you imagine failure. You feel your stomach knot when you replay someone's criticism. You hear the judgmental whisper as you compare yourself to someone else. The mirror of stillness doesn't tell you to fix it. It doesn't scold or shame. It simply shows you. And in that seeing, power emerges. The dance between thought and awareness. The mind is like a river, fast, turbulent, sometimes murky. The watcher within you is the riverbank, steady, unmoving, able to witness the flow without being carried away. When you learn to notice a thought as it arises, you create a space between stimulus and reaction. A negative thought appears, but you do not automatically act on it. Fear whispers, but you do not immediately obey. This pause, this small gap of awareness, is where freedom is born. It is where transformation begins. For the first time, you are not the river. You are the bank, the observer, the stillness in the center of motion. The power of choice. Every moment of awareness grants a choice. You can follow the narrative your mind insists is reality, or you can respond consciously, guided by clarity, not fear. This is self-mastery. It is not control in the sense of forcing your mind into obedience. It is control in the sense of choosing your response. The mind will always generate thoughts. That is its nature. The power lies in how you engage with them. When you stop reacting to every ripple, you discover a calm resilience that is deeper than logic. You start to respond instead of react. You stop being pulled by the storm and start steering your own course. The art of returning. Stillness is not a destination. It is a practice. You will not remain in this mirror forever. The mind will stir. Old fears will resurface. Negativity will knock at your door. But mindfulness teaches you how to return, to breathe, to observe, to ground yourself in the truth that you are not your thoughts. The more you practice, the less the storm can shake you. The waves may rise, but you float. The winds may howl, but you are steady. This is the quiet victory of self-mastery. Not the absence of challenges, but the presence of peace in the face of them. The mirror as teacher. Imagine looking into a mirror, but instead of seeing only your reflection, you see your mind laid bare. You see its patterns, its loops, its fears, its obsessions. And yet, you see something else as well, the stillness beneath it all. The mirror shows you your shadow and your light. It shows the habitual reactions that once ruled you. It shows the strength that has always been waiting. And in this seeing, transformation becomes inevitable. You begin to understand that mastery is not about eliminating thoughts. It's about meeting them with awareness. It's about responding from presence rather than reacting from fear. Key takeaways. 1. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the space where transformation happens. 2. Mindfulness creates a gap between thought and reaction, and in that gap lies freedom. 3. Self-mastery is not control of the mind, but conscious choice in response to it. 4. Awareness is a practice, not a permanent state. Return to stillness consistently. 5. The mirror of stillness shows both your shadows and your strengths. Both are necessary for growth. Reflection exercise, sitting in the mirror of stillness. 1. Find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Close your eyes. 2. Take 3 deep breaths, noticing the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. 3. Observe a single thought as it arises. Name it without judgment. For example, fear, doubt, comparison. 4. Watch it flow through your mind, noticing that it appears and disappears without controlling you. 5. Return to your breath, grounding yourself in the stillness beneath the thought. 6. End the session by affirming, I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness that witnesses them. Do this daily for 5 minutes. Gradually, you'll begin to notice the difference. The mind still talks, but you no longer obey every word. You start to live from presence, not panic. Chapter 6. The Alchemy of the Mind. There is a hidden force inside every human being. A force so powerful that it can either destroy or create, imprison or liberate. This force is your mind, and like raw metal, it can be transformed. But the transformation requires fire, the heat of struggle, the pressure of pain, the tension of fear. This is the essence of alchemy, turning what feels like poison into gold. And the mind is the most sacred laboratory of all. The weight you carry, fear, doubt, and pain are not weaknesses, they are raw elements. They are the shadows you've carried for years, the echoes of every time the world told you no, every wound that refused to heal, every fear you never named. At first, these shadows feel heavy. They weigh on your chest, tighten your stomach, cloud your vision. You try to ignore them, suppress them, distract yourself from them. But alchemy doesn't happen in avoidance. It happens when you face the raw material of your mind, when you stop running and start observing. Fear is just unclaimed energy. Doubt is untamed curiosity. Pain is misunderstood guidance. If you learn to work with them, rather than against them, they can fuel your rise. The science of transformation. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience and attention. The mind is not static, it is malleable. Every thought, every focus, every repeated action shapes the neural pathways that determine how you perceive the world. Negative thoughts can wire fear. Positive and intentional focus can wire courage. But here's the secret alchemists know. The mind is most powerful when it integrates both. It doesn't ignore fear, it converts it into insight. It doesn't erase pain, it translates it into strength. It doesn't silence doubt, it channels it into curiosity. This is mental alchemy. Transformation not by denial, but by mastery. Turning fear into fuel. Fear is the mind's warning system. It signals risk, danger, and the unknown. For decades, you may have allowed it to paralyze you, whispering, stay small, don't risk, don't speak, don't move. But fear itself is neutral. Its energy can be destructive or constructive, depending on how you use it. When you step into fear, just a small step, you ignite courage. When you breathe through fear instead of running from it, you create momentum. Every time you face what scares you, you transmute the chemical of anxiety into the gold of action. Fear, when harnessed, becomes your compass. It points toward growth, toward the edges of your comfort zone where transformation lives. Doubt as the sculptor. Doubt is often treated like an enemy. We try to silence it, hide from it, or avoid it. But doubt is actually a sculptor. It chisels away illusions, challenges assumptions, and forces you to question your foundation. The trick is not to eliminate doubt. It cannot be eliminated. The trick is to sit with it, examine it, and let it teach you. When you doubt your abilities, don't shrink. Ask yourself, what is this doubt trying to show me? What am I afraid of seeing? In this way, doubt becomes a tool, not a chain. It sharpens your clarity, deepens your discernment, and fuels your purpose. Pain is the catalyst. Pain is the most misunderstood of all. We spend lifetimes running from it, medicating it, distracting ourselves from it. But pain is the raw fire that can forge the strongest character. The truth, growth always has a cost. The pain you've endured, heartbreak, loss, failure, has been preparing you for your ascent. When you stop resisting pain and start listening, it reveals insights you could not have learned otherwise. It teaches resilience, empathy, and depth. It forces you to confront yourself and, in the confrontation, find power. Alchemy requires fire, pressure, and time. Your pain is the fire. Your fear is the pressure. Your doubt is the catalyst. And you are the gold waiting to be forged. The practice of mental alchemy. 1. Name the elements. Begin by identifying what you feel, fear, doubt, or pain. Don't judge them. Just name them. 2. Observe the energy. Notice where it resides in your body. Is fear a tightness in your chest? Is doubt a knot in your stomach? Is pain a heaviness in your shoulders? 3. Redirect the energy. Instead of resisting, ask, how can this serve me? How can this fuel growth? 4. Act intentionally. Take one step toward the challenge, the risk, or the unknown. Even a tiny action transforms energy into momentum. 5. Reflect and integrate. After the experience, journal what you learned, how you shifted, and the new strength you've discovered. Over time, you will notice a profound shift. The mind that once trapped you becomes the same mind that propels you. From chaos to purpose. Mental alchemy is not a single act. It is the practice of converting every dark energy into light. Every fear becomes motivation. Every doubt becomes clarity. Every wound becomes wisdom. Through alchemy, you discover that fear is an invitation, not a prison. That doubt is a question, not a verdict. That pain is a teacher, not a curse. And when this understanding anchors in your life, you no longer react helplessly to the storms of the mind. Instead, you rise through them, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. Key takeaways. 1. Fear, doubt, and pain are neutral energy. Their power depends on how you use them. 2. Transformation comes through facing and integrating these energies, not avoiding them. 3. Mental alchemy is the practice of converting challenges into growth, obstacles into insight, and suffering into strength. 4. Awareness plus action equals empowerment. Observing energy without action is wasted potential. 5. You are the gold. The raw material is already within you. Reflection exercise. The Alchemist's Journal. 1. Write down 3 challenges you are facing right now. 1 fear, 1 doubt, and 1 source of pain. 2. For each, ask, how can I use this energy to move forward? How can it teach me or guide me? 3. Write 1 small action step for each element, a step that turns energy into momentum. 4. Commit to acting on these steps within the next 24 hours. After a week, reflect on how these energies have shifted. You'll begin to notice the transformation. The same storm now fuels movement rather than paralysis. Chapter 7. The Mirror That Forgave Itself. There is a mirror in your mind, one you've avoided for years. You've stood before it, sometimes with hope, often with shame, and always with judgment. Every imperfection, every failure, every mistake has been magnified in its reflection. And every time you left that mirror, you carried its weight with you, bending your posture, shrinking your presence, silencing your voice. But one day, in the quiet aftermath of storms endured, the mirror shifts. It no longer reflects judgment. It no longer points out flaws. It begins to reflect forgiveness, starting with the person who most needed it, you. The weight of shame. Shame is a heavy, invisible chain. It whispers, "You are not enough. You are broken. You are unworthy." It thrives in silence and secrecy, festering where no light reaches. It is born from unmet expectations, harsh self-talk, and the wounds of the past. For years, you may have tried to outrun it, through achievement, distraction, or comparison. But shame cannot be outrun. It must be faced, embraced, and understood. The first step is recognizing that shame is not a truth about you. It is a signal, an indicator of where love, understanding, or acceptance has been withheld. Seeing imperfection as humanity. Every human being carries imperfection. Every story includes cracks, flaws, and scars. Yet most of us measure ourselves against ideals rather than reality, against perfection rather than growth. We critique, we punish, we belittle. The mirror that forgives itself sees differently. It sees the struggle behind the imperfection. It sees courage behind failure. It sees humanity behind flaws. And in that seeing, a shift begins. Shame loses its grip. Compassion enters the space where judgment once lived. The practice of self-compassion. Self-compassion is not self-pity. It is not indulgence or excuse. It is recognition. I am human, and humans are imperfect. It begins with 3 simple truths. 1. I am not my mistakes. They are part of my journey, not the totality of who I am. 2. I am worthy of love, even when I fail. Self-worth is not earned through perfection. It is inherent. 3. I can forgive myself, just as I would forgive another. The same grace I extend outward can be returned inward. When you speak to yourself with compassion, the inner critic softens. The mirror no longer mocks, it embraces. The reflection that once evoked fear now reflects resilience. Forgiveness as liberation. Forgiveness is a radical act. Most people reserve it for others, rarely turning it inward. Yet the act of forgiving yourself is transformative. It dismantles the chains of guilt, blame, and regret. It releases you from the endless cycle of self-punishment. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It honors it, learns from it, and releases its grip on your present. The mirror that forgave itself reflects not the absence of flaw, but the presence of wisdom, courage, and growth. It shows you that you can rise, not despite your flaws, but because of the strength you gained in facing them. Embracing the full self. Self-compassion opens the door to wholeness. It allows you to see every aspect of yourself, light and shadow, and accept it as necessary. Your failures are teachers, not condemnations. Your fears are guides, not jailers. Your doubts are invitations, not verdicts. The mirror no longer asks you to be someone else. It simply asks you to be fully you. In embracing your imperfections, you discover freedom. In releasing shame, you reclaim energy, joy, and creativity. In forgiving yourself, you transform the relationship with your own mind. Key takeaways. 1. Shame is a signal, not a truth. It points to areas needing understanding and acceptance. 2. Self-compassion is not weakness, it is strength. Forgiving yourself fosters resilience and growth. 3. Imperfections are not flaws to hide, but humanity to embrace. 4. Forgiveness is liberation. Release the past to reclaim your present and future. 5. The mirror reflects what you choose to see. Choose grace, acceptance, and love. Reflection exercise, forgiving the reflection. 1. Sit quietly in front of a mirror or close your eyes and visualize your reflection. 2. Identify one mistake, regret, or aspect of yourself you have judged harshly. 3. Speak to yourself out loud. I see you. I forgive you. You are human, and you are enough. 4. Repeat for other areas of self-criticism. Take your time. Allow each word to sink in. 5. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, feeling the weight of shame lift, replaced by compassion. Do this daily for a week. Observe how your inner voice softens and how your sense of self begins to shift from judgment to acceptance. Chapter 8. The Fire That Refined You. Fire is never gentle. It consumes, it scorches, it tests every part of what it touches. And yet, without fire, gold cannot shine, steel cannot hold, and the mind cannot transform. Life is fire, not metaphorically, not in stories, but in every trial, every heartbreak, every moment of struggle that pushes you to your limits. And if you allow it, this fire will refine you, stripping away what is unnecessary, strengthening what is essential, and revealing the unyielding strength buried within. The nature of adversity. Adversity is not a curse. It is a teacher, stern and unwavering. At first, it feels like injustice. You question the timing, the intensity, the purpose. The fire feels unfair. It burns, it humbles, it confuses. But those who have learned its language understand. The fire is never personal. It does not burn to punish. It burns to purify. It burns to reveal the resilience already present but untested. Every challenge you face is not designed to stop you. It is designed to show you what you are capable of when you refuse to collapse. Resilience as alchemy. Resilience is forged, not granted. It is the process of walking through the fire, scorched but unbroken, and emerging transformed. Think of a blacksmith at the forge. Steel alone is rigid and brittle. Only when it passes through flames, is hammered, folded, and tempered, does it become strong and enduring. The mind works the same way. Pain and adversity are the flames. Reflection, patience, and courage are the hammer. Every trial that challenges you is an opportunity to fold yourself, refine your character, and create a mind capable of withstanding storms. Embracing challenges. Most people resist challenges. They seek comfort, predictability, and avoidance. But the fire doesn't wait for comfort. It comes regardless, and those who resist it only suffer longer. Embracing challenges is not recklessness. It is courage. It is saying, I will walk through this, and I will emerge stronger. Consider every difficulty as a teacher in disguise. A heartbreak teaches empathy and depth. A professional setback teaches humility and strategy. A failure in pursuit of purpose teaches endurance and insight. The fire refines you, not by avoiding struggle, but by enduring it and learning from it. The mindset of the refined. Those who are refined by fire share a common truth. They do not fear it. They understand that suffering is temporary, lessons are eternal, and growth comes from perseverance. The mindset is simple, yet profound. 1. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. 2. Challenges are teachers, not obstacles. 3. Strength is revealed in persistence, not perfection. 4. Every fire walked through leaves a trace of gold inside you, a mark of wisdom and resilience. This mindset does not make life easier, it makes you stronger. The transformation. Emerging from fire is not just survival, it is metamorphosis. You begin to notice changes. Small irritations no longer consume your mind. Criticism no longer wounds as deeply. Challenges excite rather than intimidate. You trust yourself in moments of uncertainty because you have faced uncertainty before. The fire has not destroyed you. It has clarified, strengthened, and awakened parts of yourself you never knew existed. You start to see the truth. Fire does not break you, it reveals you. The metaphor of gold. Gold is one of the few elements in nature that does not tarnish. It must be mined, refined, and purified through heat and pressure. The impurities are removed, leaving only brilliance. You are gold. The fire of life has passed through you, removing doubt, fear, and weakness. What remains is clarity, strength, and resilience. And just as gold can be shaped into anything, a crown, a ring, a coin, you can shape your life with the wisdom forged in fire. Key takeaways. 1. Adversity is a teacher, not a punishment. Every challenge contains lessons for growth. 2. Resilience is forged in the fire of struggle. It is built, not granted. 3. Embracing challenges transforms suffering into strength. Avoidance prolongs pain, courage accelerates growth. 4. Emerging from the fire reveals your true strength, clarity, and wisdom. 5. Life's fire does not destroy, it refines. Like gold, you become more brilliant through purification. Reflection exercise, walking through fire. 1. Identify a current challenge or source of discomfort in your life. 2. Write down how this challenge is shaping you. What skills, wisdom, or strength could it be teaching? 3. Imagine yourself walking through the challenge with courage, emerging stronger on the other side. 4. Write one intentional action you can take today to move through the challenge instead of avoiding it. At the end of the day, reflect on what you learned, what shifted, and what strength you discovered. Chapter 9. The Calm After the Forge. There is a moment after every fire when the flames subside. The smoke lingers, the air is warm but steady, and the world feels quieter, slower, somehow more intimate. This is the calm after the forge, the space where transformation is no longer just internal, but woven into the fabric of your life. After the storms, after the nights of shattering, after the fires that tested every fiber of your being, you finally arrive at stillness. Not emptiness, not complacency, but a profound balance, a deep, unshakable knowing that you are stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you ever imagined. The art of integration. Transformation is meaningless if it is not integrated. All the courage, all the alchemy, all the self-compassion you have cultivated must now be applied to daily life. The calm after the forge is the moment where reflection meets action. It's where the lessons of struggle, pain, and fear are woven into the choices you make, the relationships you nurture, and the presence you bring to the world. Integration is not passive. It requires conscious awareness, recognizing the patterns you used to fall into, acknowledging how far you've come, applying the wisdom gained to prevent repeating old mistakes. This is the moment when inner strength becomes outward life mastery. Reflection as a compass. The fire revealed your resilience. The mirror revealed your truth. The dawn revealed your awareness. Now, reflection becomes your compass. You look back not to dwell on the past, but to understand it. Every scar, every mistake, every heartbreak is examined for its lesson. Through reflection, you extract meaning from the chaos. You recognize patterns that no longer serve you. You honor the growth that emerged from struggle. Reflection after the forge is not regretful, it is intentional. It allows you to act with clarity, courage, and purpose. The balance of life. After enduring life's trials, you begin to notice a new rhythm. Moments of challenge are no longer catastrophic. Moments of calm are not wasted. Success is not a measure of worth. Failure is not a verdict on your value. Balance is found in embracing both, the fire and the calm, the storm and the silence. You move through life with grace, knowing that each experience has its place, its purpose, its lesson. In this balance, the mind is no longer a battlefield. It is a sanctuary. You are no longer driven by fear, doubt, or shame. You are guided by clarity, wisdom, and intentionality. The power of presence. The calm after the forge is not just internal. It is reflected in how you exist in the world. You notice small details, the laughter of a child, the warmth of sunlight, the subtle rhythm of breath. You respond instead of reacting. You speak with intention. You act with purpose. Presence becomes a superpower. It allows you to navigate complexity without losing yourself. It allows you to lead without domination, love without clinging, and create without desperation. This is the true reward of endurance. Not trophies, not accolades, but the ability to live fully, consciously, and authentically. Growth through stillness. The calm is also fertile ground for growth. Like soil after a wildfire, your mind is enriched, cleared of debris, and ready to cultivate new seeds of possibility. You realize, challenges are not obstacles to avoid. They are tools to build strength. Reflection is not dwelling on the past. It is extracting wisdom. Stillness is not passive. It is where insight, clarity, and strategy are born. You begin to understand that life is cyclical. Fire, forge, calm, growth, and every phase has its purpose. Key takeaways. 1. Integration is essential. Wisdom gained in struggle becomes true power when applied in daily life. 2. Reflection is a compass. Understanding your past allows you to act with clarity and purpose. 3. Balance is the reward of endurance. Accepting both fire and calm leads to mastery over mind and life. 4. Presence is transformative. Living intentionally in each moment creates resilience, peace, and growth. 5. Stillness nurtures growth. Calm after struggle is fertile ground for insight, creativity, and vision. Reflection exercise, mapping your journey. 1. Take a notebook and divide a page into 3 columns. Fire, lessons, integration. 2. In the fire column, write down recent challenges or trials you have endured. 3. In the lessons column, note what each challenge taught you about yourself, others, or life. 4. In the integration column, write down how you can apply these lessons to your present and future actions. 5. Review this map regularly, allowing it to guide decisions, choices, and growth. This practice transforms experience into wisdom, chaos into clarity, and survival into mastery. Chapter 10. The Horizon of Intentional Living. The horizon is not just a line where the sky meets the earth. It is a promise, a place where possibility stretches infinitely, where vision meets action, and where your life begins to move with purpose rather than drift in reaction. After fire, after stillness, after reflection, you begin to notice the horizon. It calls softly at first, a whisper of potential. But as you walk toward it, step by step, breath by breath, it becomes luminous, undeniable, magnetic. This is the essence of intentional living, the act of choosing your direction, rather than letting circumstance, fear, or habit dictate the course of your life. The power of purpose. Purpose is not always a grand mission. It can be quiet, subtle, yet no less transformative. Purpose is the compass that anchors your decisions, the fire that fuels your actions, and the lens through which you perceive meaning in every experience. Without purpose, even the calm after the forge can feel hollow. You may have resilience, clarity, and presence, but without a horizon to walk toward, the mind drifts, restless, uncertain. Intentional living begins with asking, what matters most to me? What impact do I want to leave behind? How do I want to show up in the world? The answers to these questions become your North Star. They guide your choices, shape your actions, and infuse even the smallest moments with significance. Vision, seeing beyond the present. Living intentionally requires vision. Vision is not a plan of perfection. It is a mental picture of the life you are willing to create. It stretches beyond the limits of today, beyond fear, doubt, and old patterns. When you have vision, your actions gain clarity. Obstacles become challenges to navigate, not walls to stop you. Distractions lose their power. Every decision aligns with the path toward the horizon you have chosen. Vision without action is fantasy. Action without vision is chaos. Intentional living is the balance of both, dreaming consciously and moving purposefully. Choice is power. Intentional living is not about controlling everything. It is about reclaiming the power of choice. Do you choose how to respond to challenges? You choose what thoughts to nurture and which to release. You choose which habits shape your day and which define your character. Each choice, however small, compounds over time. The coffee you decide to drink mindfully. The conversation you choose to elevate instead of argue. The extra effort you put into growth instead of comfort. These small acts are the bricks that build a life of intentionality. Living above reaction. Most lives are spent reacting. Reactions are quick, habitual, and often driven by fear, expectation, or ego. Reaction keeps you in the cycle of anxiety, doubt, and external validation. Intentional living rises above reaction. It is the pause before response, the space between stimulus and action that gives you freedom. It is acting with clarity rather than instinct, responding with purpose rather than fear. The horizon becomes visible not when life stops challenging you, but when you stop letting challenges control you. You no longer drift in the current. You sail your ship toward the horizon you choose. The daily practice of intentionality. 1. Start with reflection. Each morning, ask, what matters most today? What choices will align with my vision? 2. Prioritize purpose. Let your actions reflect what truly matters, not what is urgent or convenient. 3. Pause before reaction. When stress, criticism, or fear arises, breathe, observe, and respond consciously. 4. Evaluate daily. At night, reflect on where your actions aligned with your vision and where they didn't. Learn, adjust, and recommit. 5. Celebrate progress. Intentional living is a journey, not a destination. Recognize and honor small victories along the way. The horizon as motivation. The horizon is not fixed. It shifts as you grow, as you learn, as you expand. It challenges you to rise, to explore, to create meaning beyond mere survival. It reminds you that life is not about drifting from one circumstance to another, but about choosing the currents that carry you toward purpose. Intentional living is the art of harmonizing your mind, your heart, and your actions. It is the culmination of the fires endured, the mirrors faced, and the calm embraced. It is the stage where resilience meets vision, where awareness meets action, and where life transforms from reactive existence into conscious creation. Key takeaways. 1. Intentional living begins with clarity of purpose. Know your North Star and let it guide your actions. 2. Vision is essential. See beyond the present and act toward the life you want to create. 3. Choice is power. Every decision, no matter how small, shapes your life's trajectory. 4. Respond rather than react. The space between stimulus and response is where freedom resides. 5. Consistency over perfection. Small, deliberate actions compounded over time create a life of intention. Reflection exercise, charting your horizon. 1. Take a notebook and write down, what matters most to me in life? 2. List 3 to 5 long-term goals or values that reflect this purpose. 3. For each goal, write one small action you can take this week to align with it. 4. Reflect daily on how your choices are moving you toward your horizon. 5. Adjust, refine, and recommit as needed. With this exercise, the horizon is no longer a distant dream. It becomes a living, breathing guide, visible in every choice you make. Chapter 11. The Symphony of Momentum. Momentum is a subtle force, often invisible until it carries you forward with unstoppable energy. It is the quiet accumulation of intention, action, and consistency, forming a rhythm that propels life toward purpose. Like a symphony, each note, each habit, each decision, each small act builds upon the last, creating a movement greater than its parts. This is the art of sustaining progress, transforming intention into action, action into routine, and routine into unstoppable forward motion. The invisible current. When you begin living intentionally, the first steps are deliberate, sometimes awkward, sometimes hesitant. You pause before reacting. You reflect before choosing. You act with awareness. At first, the effort is immense, but small successes start to compound. Each consistent choice, each disciplined habit, adds energy to your momentum. The current becomes stronger, carrying you forward even when doubt, fatigue, or fear arise. Momentum is invisible, but its effects are undeniable. Like wind filling the sails of a ship, it allows you to move faster, smoother, and farther than you could through isolated effort alone. Habits as the orchestra. Think of habits as the instruments of your life's symphony. When each is tuned and played consistently, they create harmony. When neglected, discord emerges. The key is not perfection. No symphony is flawless. It is consistency, attention, and alignment with your vision. Morning rituals, grounding yourself, focusing your mind, priming energy. Reflection, evaluating the day, extracting lessons, adjusting course. Action steps, deliberate, small moves toward goals, repeated daily. Self-care, nourishment for body, mind, and spirit to sustain performance. Each habit is a note. When combined intentionally, they produce the music of progress, clarity, and fulfillment. Overcoming resistance. Momentum encounters resistance, the natural friction of life. Old habits, negative thoughts, fear, and comfort zones all fight against forward motion. The key is understanding that resistance is temporary. It rises, tests your resolve, and then fades when met with persistence. Momentum is built not by waiting for motivation, but by starting despite it. The smallest consistent action, writing one paragraph, taking one step, making one call, compounds into a force that cannot be stopped. The symphony gains strength in repetition. The rhythm of progress eventually drowns out doubt. The music of momentum becomes self-sustaining, carrying you forward even when energy wanes. The feedback loop of progress. Momentum is reinforced by feedback, small wins, progress checkpoints, and recognition of improvement. Celebrate milestones, however small, to energize continued effort. Reflect on lessons learned from setbacks to refine strategy. Track habits to maintain awareness and consistency. Progress, when acknowledged, fuels motivation. Consistency, when maintained, builds momentum. Momentum, when harnessed, creates exponential growth, a force that amplifies every choice, every effort, every action. Flow, the peak of momentum. When momentum reaches a certain point, something extraordinary happens. Flow. Flow is the state where action becomes effortless, energy feels infinite, and results multiply beyond expectation. It is the symphony at its crescendo, each note aligning, each instrument resonating, creating a powerful, unified movement forward. Flow is not magic. It is the natural consequence of intentional living, sustained action, and disciplined habits. It is the reward for showing up consistently, choosing purposefully, and refining daily practice. Sustaining the movement. Momentum is not permanent. It must be nurtured, refreshed, and protected. 1. Guard your energy. Protect your mind, body, and spirit from unnecessary drain. 2. Refine habits. Eliminate actions that no longer serve your vision and strengthen those that do. 3. Celebrate progress. Reinforce small wins to maintain motivation. 4. Adjust course. Stay flexible. Momentum requires direction as well as speed. 5. Stay connected to purpose. Vision is the engine of momentum. Clarity fuels the rhythm. By attending to these, the forward motion becomes unstoppable, a symphony that carries you through challenges, setbacks, and periods of doubt. Key takeaways. 1. Momentum is the accumulation of consistent, intentional actions. 2. Habits are the instruments of your life's symphony. Alignment creates harmony. 3. Resistance is natural but temporary. Persistence sustains movement. 4. Celebrate wins, reflect on setbacks, and refine your habits to maintain momentum. 5. Flow is the peak of momentum. Effortless action fueled by clarity, purpose, and consistency. Reflection exercise, composing your symphony. 1. Identify 3 to 5 key habits that align with your vision and purpose. 2. Commit to performing these habits consistently over the next 7 days. 3. Track each habit daily, noting progress and reflections. 4. At the end of the week, celebrate wins, refine habits that need adjustment, and recommit to maintaining momentum. 5. Visualize your actions as notes in a symphony, each contributing to the unstoppable forward motion of your life. Chapter 12. The Rebirth of the Self. The horizon you once chased is now within reach. The fires you endured have left their mark, not scars of weakness, but traces of strength. The mirrors you faced now reflect someone unrecognizable from the person who first opened this book. Stronger, wiser, deliberate, whole. This is the rebirth of the self. Not a new you born from perfection, but a self forged in struggle, refined in fire, and awakened in stillness. A self that understands fear, embraces challenges, and moves through life with clarity, courage, and purpose. The journey completed. Rebirth is the culmination of everything you've endured and learned. It is not a single moment, but a process, the integration of pain, reflection, action, and growth. You began in darkness, drowning in invisible waves, trapped in self-talk, and shattered by doubt. You discovered awareness in the dawn between thoughts, found stillness in the mirror, and transmuted fear and pain into gold. You forgave yourself, embraced imperfection, and allowed the fires of life to refine you. You claimed calm, vision, and intentional living. You cultivated momentum, habit, and flow. Now, all these threads converge. The tapestry of your life becomes coherent, purposeful, and alive. Mastery through integration. Mastery is not about being invincible. It is not about perfection or control over life's uncontrollable forces. Mastery is about integration. It is the ability to respond consciously rather than react, to harness your energy rather than be consumed by it, to act with wisdom born from experience. Your mind is a tool, not a tyrant. Your past is a teacher, not a chain. Your fears are guides, not jailers. Your purpose is a compass, not a destination. Through integration, every thought, every action, every moment becomes an expression of the self that has been reborn. The strength of presence. The reborn self moves through life differently. You notice the subtle beauty in ordinary moments. You act with patience where others react in haste. You speak with clarity, knowing your words hold weight. You listen with empathy, knowing your presence alone can create impact. Presence becomes a superpower. It allows you to navigate complexity with ease. It transforms ordinary interactions into meaningful connections. It creates a life where influence flows naturally, not from force, but from authenticity. Legacy of the self. Rebirth is not only for you. It ripples outward into the lives of those you touch. The courage you found inspires others. The wisdom you embody guides those lost in struggle. The peace you radiate becomes a sanctuary for the weary. Your life becomes a living testament. The mind that once trapped you is now your ally. The fears that once haunted you are now your compass. The pain that once weighed you down is now the foundation of your strength. Rebirth transforms you into a beacon, proof that transformation is possible, that mastery is achievable, and that life can be lived fully and intentionally. The continuous journey. Even now, the journey is not over. Rebirth is not a final destination. It is a state of continual growth. Life will always present challenges, uncertainty, and moments that test your resolve. But the reborn self knows the truth. No external circumstance can diminish your inner strength. No storm can unsettle the foundation you have built. No fear can sway a mind that has learned to observe, reflect, and act with purpose. You move forward with grace, courage, and resilience, ever evolving, ever expanding. Key takeaways. 1. Rebirth is the integration of all lessons, challenges, and growth into a coherent, purposeful self. 2. Mastery is about conscious response, not control of life's uncontrollable forces. 3. Presence transforms ordinary life into meaningful impact. 4. The reborn self influences the world, creating a ripple of courage, wisdom, and peace. 5. Growth is continuous. Rebirth is a process, not a final destination. Reflection exercise, embracing the reborn self. 1. Visualize the person you were at the beginning of this journey. 2. Compare this to the self you have cultivated through reflection, action, and growth. 3. Write down 3 qualities, strengths, or habits that define your reborn self. 4. Commit to 1 action today that aligns with this transformed self, a step that embodies your strength, wisdom, and purpose. 5. Close your reflection by affirming, I am reborn. I am resilient. I am intentional. I am whole.